Several years ago, 3 things happened in my life that sent me on a journey that would change how I see and how I live my life. The first event was a sudden and very serious heart attack. Now, I wasn't prepared for that. This wasn't supposed to happen to me. My cholesterol has always been excellent, my blood pressure great. I've never smoked. I watch my weight, I stay active. My doctor would even say I was boring, which is what you want them to say, right? But suddenly one day, I found myself speeding down the highway in the back of an ambulance with a complete blockage of a major artery in my heart. Not only was I facing the reality of my own mortality, the fact that I would someday die, but I knew that in that very moment, I was dying. And the only question was whether or not they would be able to open the blockage in time to change what was otherwise going to be inevitable. They had told me that they would first try to open the blockage with a cardiac catheterization and a stent placement. But if that didn't work, they would have to crack my chest, which has to be the most unpleasant phrase in the English language, and do emergency coronary bypass surgery, which just may be the second most unpleasant phrase. Well, as I hope you figured out, I made it. The stent worked. There was no chest cracking going on. Yay. But nevertheless, I can tell you, my friends, that will get your attention. The second thing to happen was my 65th birthday. 65 years old, retirement age. I had a Medicare card in my wallet. They now gave me the senior discount at the theaters without even asking. I'm now wearing glasses and hearing aids, although they are Bluetooth compatible. Thoughts of retirement had been rattling around in my brain for a long time, but it was always vague sort of thoughts about when I might stop working. But now the question became more real, and it became more complicated, because it was no longer just when am I going to stop doing what I'm doing now, but also what am I going to do next? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? The third event was that I woke up one morning older than my father. Or at least I was older than he was when he died. And that felt very strange. You see, I was in my 30s when my father died, and back then, from that perspective, he seemed, well, old. Old enough to die, at least. Also, I guess I had always felt that I was in some ways following in my father's footsteps through life. But suddenly, the footprints disappeared. And I was walking further down the road than my father had ever gone. My father, my old man, had never experienced what it was like to be as old as I was. He had not lived this long. I had this growing and unavoidable realization. Dang, I'm old. And my reaction to that surprised me a bit. I began to feel a bit vulnerable, even fragile. I was a bit lost. But when I talked to friends and contemporaries, I found that I was not the only one. Many of them were feeling some of the same kinds of feelings. We had reached this point in our life that in many ways we had been working and saving and planning for much of our adult life. But when we finally got here, many of us were struggling. Many of us. But not all. Some were doing well. Some were not struggling with aging at all, but were rather finding it a time of fulfillment and freedom and perhaps even the best time of their life. There was a peaceful, even joyful ease about them, as though they knew something the rest of us did not. And I began to wonder if perhaps they had not rediscovered and somehow reclaimed that ancient and archetypal role of elder, the keeper and the teacher of wisdom. And so I set out on a journey, a personal quest, if you will, to seek out and to learn from the wisdom of elders and to try to find out what it was that they knew that I did not yet know. To try to find a way to hopefully ease into my own aging and to find my own way through. One of the first things that I discovered is that elderhood is not reached without effort. It does not come about solely as a result of not having gotten around to dying yet. Elderhood is something that has to be sought after and discovered. Not all old people, you see, ever become truly elders. And not all elders are really all that old. But the ones that I found, the ones that seemed to me to be the true elders, the ones who were living and aging with strength and beauty and grace, had somehow done the inner work necessary to be able to fully embody what it meant to be an elder. They had looked back over their life with both gratitude and forgiveness, and they had brought forward with them those things that still held value. And they had left behind those things that no longer served and perhaps never did. And they now had found and they understood and they claimed the gifts and the abilities that they now had to offer. And they were willing to freely offer them to others. And they could then now look forward, no longer with fear or with dread, but with openness and curiosity as to what the future still may hold for them. And through it all, they had learned a thing or two. And they had made peace even with death, even with the reality of their own death in the now foreseeable future. And they had learned a few things that only living can teach, and they had gained wisdom. Wisdom is in many ways countercultural these days. It is not so much concerned with questions of what and how, but more with things like why, where from, where to. Wisdom is not in opposition to knowledge. It is not an either-or thing. Knowledge is a wonderful gift and has allowed us to do amazing and sometimes life-saving things. But elders have been around long enough to know that knowledge without wisdom can sometimes be a dangerous thing. And it can take us to places we never intended to be. Elders do not claim nor do they seek to have all the right answers. But they have also only they will teach us how to seek and to ask and to struggle with the right or at least the most helpful questions. They have no formulas, no spreadsheets, no instruction manuals, but offer only a a well-worn path, a way of walking, and a call to begin. Elders encourage us to walk a bit slower so that we can fully see and fully experience what life has to offer us all the time, and to open ourselves enough to be touched by it. Elders can teach us how to find the beauty and the value in things half noticed till now. Elders remind us that we live in a world, a whole vast universe really, and we are a small yet significant part of all that exists. They remind us that we live in community and that we are connected with every human being and every living creature on earth, and we belong to them as they belong to us. Yes, elders can teach us many things. But one of the most important things that they can perhaps teach us these days is how to live into and embrace our own aging. For the simple and unavoidable truth is, aging is something we are all doing at every moment of every day. As you and I are sitting here together today, you and I are aging in intervals of 18 minutes or less. And yet we live in a culture that is so highly focused on youth. A time in which we will do almost anything, spend almost anything to stay or at least appear or seem young. Growing old these days is seen almost exclusively in terms of loss and decline, diminishment and irrelevance. And if you have any doubts to that, just go try to find a positive and uplifting birthday card for anybody 40 or older. We rarely refer to anyone as an elder these days, but only elderly, and no one wants to be that. It is no wonder that we try so hard to hold on to our youth way past its shelf life, clinging to the carpet, if you will, as they drag us kicking and screaming from the living room to the back room. But elders can teach us how to live into life and to embrace it and to live gracefully into that. But unfortunately, in our culture, we largely ignore the valuable resource of elder wisdom, of what life lived long teaches. And potential elders have largely lost the significant identity and role that could not only give their own life meaning and purpose, but could provide guidance and nurture and grounding to others. And that is a loss to us all. We are in deep need of elders among us and the wisdom that they can offer. And elders are in deep need, my friends, of regaining their place by the fire. And so I invite us all today to re-envision life, to see life no longer in terms of that hill we supposedly go over at about 2/3 of our way into our living and then slide down the other side of into irrelevance. But rather to see life as an ongoing journey. A journey up a mountainside, if you will. And with each step forward we take, and with each step higher we go, the view, when we look back and when we look around, becomes ever more expansive, ever more beautiful, ever more complete. I offer a call to you today. A call to make friends with your own aging. And to live it no longer as an ending and a loss, but rather as a pathway opening before you. A call to find the strength and the courage and the goodness of heart to begin your own journey, your journey to find your own elder wisdom. It is a journey that can undoubtedly at times feel perilous, but it is a journey that you and I and all of us together need for you and I and all of us together to take. And I offer a call particularly to those of you who may already be elders, though you may doubt or even fear that you are, to bravely step forward and to discover the elder wisdom that you possibly unknowingly already possess, for surely life has taught you something in all these years. And maybe it's taught you more than you may think. And to share what life has taught you and to share the view from where you now stand and what life looks like from here. And I invite and I urge us all to seek out the elders among us, for they are out there if we will but look for them. And none of us possess all the wisdom that we need. And if we will but listen to their stories, and if we will but listen to what life has taught them, we just may walk away a bit wiser ourselves. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could learn from the elders and we could approach our own aging without fear or dread? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could learn from their living and begin to see growing older as an opportunity to not just grow old, but to grow whole? And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all find our own elder wisdom by living our whole life, the whole wild and precious journey of it, wonder-filled? I, like all elders, offer you no easy answers. I offer only a well-worn path, a way of walking, and a call to begin. But throughout the ages, to those with courage enough to step forward, that has always somehow been enough.